Eric Patel here. So, you know, you have a lot of titles. You're a mechanical engineer, you study business, you're an entrepreneur, a content creator. And what's really cool about you is that you really teach students about like college, you know, not only about the application process, how to choose a major, how to write college essay, how to choose a major and whatnot. Like, what was your intentions or your idea behind all this? You know, you're a busy guy. Like I said, multiple things going on, but what's your origin story behind all this?
Yeah, so a lot of my passion in education came from the college scandal of 2019. You've probably heard about it. It was all over the news where a lot of the rich were bribing their kids' way into school. And I'm a big believer in merit-based. You get what you work for at the end of the day. But that's not fair if somebody's stealing your spot by, paying their way in, or just, hey, I freaking do soccer or something like that. Like, no, you're not a soccer player. You shouldn't be able to take the spot of somebody that hypothetically worked a lot harder than you did for it. And so I saw that, and I saw a necessity to level the playing field in education. And so a lot of those educational resources aren't available to a student unless they have something like a private counselor, which unless you're rich, you probably don't have anyways. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to get on TikTok. I'm just going to start making a bunch of videos where I'll be giving away information where private counselors would probably charge like thousands of dollars to do. So I was like, screw the system. I'm just going to try to make it as like accessible to everybody, that to make that information accessible to everyone so that they also have an equal shot of making it to the same college as anybody else.
Yeah, for sure. And you have a bunch of reviews on Edullo, you know, a
Yep.
lot of people,
Edullo.
and what's really beautiful about it is that, yeah, it's free. And when it's free, people, of course, are going to consume that. Whereas, like, if it's a price at a higher, if it's priced, then people are probably not going to use that information. And it can be
Exactly.
worth hundreds of dollars. But the fact that you're giving it for free, especially at a young audience on TikTok, is really helps a lot of kids on the platform.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to do that. So if you notice, I have a platform called Edulllo, and that is primarily paid. It's a freelance marketplace. I don't know if you've heard of Fiverr.
Yeah.
It's like, the Fiverr of education. So that's really what we're going towards. But even then, my personal jobs on that site are all free. So I'm giving away resume templates, cover letter templates, and that just really, I like to stand by my statement of I like to level the educational playing field, and for that, you need to have free resources.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, when during your application process for college, did you see the difference between your application process and then what others had? Maybe they didn't have the exact same resources that you had, and you kind of saw a gap in the market. It's like, hey, actually want to help this audience out.
Exactly, and a lot of it depends on your socioeconomic stance, standing, and your background, really, right? I have immigrant parents, so as immigrant parents, they didn't necessarily they weren't able to give me the same exact resources that other parents might have been able to give their kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just our backgrounds, but you need to have something that steps in a point like that. So they can't necessarily sit down with me and help me make my resume,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something just because of my background, and that's okay. They can't step in and help me make my cover letter, stuff like that. And those are very important aspects of the college admissions process. That something as simple as a template. Most of my stuff is templates. I create a template and I say, here's some of the things you can put in here. Here's some of the things you can't put in here. Here, fill in the blank sort of stuff. Something as simple as that gives really that background foundation that the student can build off of. It's just getting them, just push, just a little
Yeah.
push. You don't have to hold their hand the entire way, but
Mm-hmm.
that push is something that's super helpful. At least for me, I got templates from my teachers, from the college, stuff like that. I use those templates all the time, and I want to make those resources available to everyone, not just the people that go to college or anything like that.
Yeah. And, you know, do you have some sort of a ambition here? So, for example, is Edulllo a nonprofit organization? Is it a business? Or are you trying to grow, you know, your personal brand? You know, personal brand nowadays is a modern day resume. And the more value you provide, the more noise you generate. And through that, you can get more opportunities. Or is it just about giving back to the community?
Yeah, of course. I first started Edullo as I wanted to register it as a nonprofit because we first started out with free articles. It's called Edullo Guides, guides.edullo.com. And it's one of the largest databases of student written articles in the country. That's all we had at first. That's all we had. We were sort of like a glorified blog, like Prep Scholar, but written completely by students. And we saw that this was getting hundreds of thousands of hits. People were coming left and right because this is student written articles. That's not something you see every day. These are usually experts. They know what they're talking about. Their full-time job is to write articles. That's usually the type of content that they are taking in. And this was a change, and we saw that, and we're like, wow, okay, there's a need. We saw the need. And from the need, I went on TikTok. Bam, I verified the need. Right, I verified it. Going from a zero to I went from 0 to 100,000 in probably a couple months. My first video ever got 600,000. I'm like, wow, this is nice. I like this. First video getting 600, 700,000. People like the content. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to leverage this content in a business standpoint. And the good thing about businesses is that not only can you give back to the community, but you can, as a person, work full-time in it, right? Like a nonprofit, sure, you can work full-time in it. But I don't know to the extent of the means it provides to live your sort of lifestyle. And I want to be able to continue doing this full-time, and a business is the fastest way to get there. I personally don't like the 9 to 5. That's just not my thing.
Yeah.
The 9 to 5 it might be for some people, but it's not for me. And so the business is the route I went at the end of the day. And so again, like I said, most of the services on the websites are charged, but that's because other people are providing those services, not me. And other people just need to be compensated for their time. You can't expect everyone to, give away free services left and right. But again, I provide my services free, along with the entire Edulllo Guides portion of that, which is also completely free as well, the student written articles I was talking about.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So Edullo is you're the founder of it, right? But it's comprised of not only you, but a team, right? And so your content, your guidelines, all our content is free, but the other team members, they can actually charge people for it.
So let me explain this, right? So we have Edulllo over here, and then we have Edulllo Guides over here. Edulllo Guides is sort of like a blog entity, and on this we call it Edulllo Guides. We don't call it Edulllo Blog or something like that because we're really dedicated to guiding students. The Edulllo Guides completely free. You can visualize it sort of like a blog. Edulllo is a freelance marketplace. On this freelance marketplace, anybody can register, anybody can post a service. And so we have, thousands of members, and they're not necessarily part of our team. They're just random people that come through my TikTok. They come through organic searches. They register, they look at the website. They're like, wow, this is great. And then they post a job marketing their service. And then the student comes on, they find their job, they purchase it. We just act as the middleman. We just wanted to create a database of pretty much every sort of, any field that you needed help in. We wanted to create a database for that, so that students really had quick and easy access to personalized tutoring, which was a huge need that we saw.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you guys are the Fiverr of kind of a millennial or Gen Z sort of demographic?
Exactly.
Around college students. Okay.
Around education. So if you look at the website, we cover everything from APs to college mentoring. And there's no real big marketplace like that out there. So there's big tutoring companies. I'm not gonna say there isn't. Right? They're all over the place. But when you go to Chegg, you get one-on-one matched with somebody. They don't give you the option like, hey, here's like 30 different people in your realm. You go pick that person. They don't do that. They say, here's your person. He's going to be charging $30 an hour. That's their base rate. I think 30 to 60, depending on how much experience they have. That's your guy. Meanwhile, on our platform, you browse a selection of jobs, of users. You make your choice, and the rates are a fraction of the expert. I mean, obviously, he's an expert. He has a PhD, probably, the guy that's tutoring you on Chegg. Our people, they're students. They're students just like you, tutoring and mentoring you. Number one, we found that sometimes they teach better than the expert. Why? Because they did the coursework like last like last week. So
Hmm.
they know what they're talking about. It's not like they don't. And then they're students, so they obviously don't charge as much as the expert either. So like 10
Yeah.
bucks, like $10 a pop, like that's pretty cheap versus that 30 to 60 bucks that you're going to be paying the expert when you might actually be getting a better service at the end of the day.
Yeah, the way I see it is, when you have labs, you probably understand this because you're an engineer. There's like teaching assistants or any class, the TAs or lab assistants, and it's kind of like the right hand man for the professor, and that person knows a lot because they either took the course, or they took the course, and then the year after, since they did so well, they become part of it, helping the professor out with the X, Y, and Z, the labs and whatnot, grading papers. So it's kind of like that person entering your Edullo and teaching others in a massive scale, not just the students at the university.
Exactly, exactly. And having that sort of access to on-demand help, it's something revolutionary. You can't just go on and search up. I want a physics mentor, and have a list of 50 people brought up like that. You can maybe go on Craigslist, but Craigslist, the interface is disgusting. It takes forever to find it. They're not verified and stuff like that. And so we do basic vetting on the platform. Plus, it's the marketplace. So reviews are a great way to be like, hey, this person sucks versus this person is actually really good.
Yeah.
So it's a
And
good way to separate.
and did you have to build your entire like Edulllo around the model of software as a service SaaS? Was that a challenge, or how did you kind of come up with that?
Yeah, so we really visualize ourselves to be the one-stop shop. But
Hmm.
by being the one-stop shop, it's a software, right? We're software at the end of the
Yeah.
day. We act as a middleman. It's like an escrow account. We're pretty much an escrow account, sort of.
Yeah.
So when the buyer purchases a job, we hold the money. That money does not go directly to the seller of the service. We hold it until the seller delivers the job and the buyer accepts the delivery. And then we transfer those funds to the seller. So we're like a mini escrow account with microtransactions every second. And that's a software service that we're providing, a middleman. And like any software, you need to have a very strong technical side. I'm a pretty good coder myself, not amazing, but again, you need to know what you're good at and what you're not. So I outsource a large portion of it.
Okay.
I can't do everything, right? I'm on
Yeah.
TikTok, so I do the marketing. I also handle some of the technical sides. Like I can't just run the entire business on my own. So I
Yeah.
outsource a good part of the technical development, while I've now, because of TikTok, have taken on more of a CEO, CMO sort of role.
I definitely feel that. And it's cool that you know how to code because, I mean, if you have the web developer, anyone who's out there that wants to create their own app or software and they have no idea, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs tell me this, where if you have no idea what you're doing, how software and technology works, and you hire someone to do it, it can be a bad idea because you're not going to know what you're going to get. For the most part, the first time it comes around is bad. However, if you have a solid background in it, then you understand what's wrong. You can go back and say, hey, look, this is what's wrong. You can reverse engineer and tell them why it's wrong. If not, you can just do it all yourself, depending how busy you are, right? Kind of have a good grasp of what your business is. And as a CEO, entrepreneur, I think it's important to know how everything operates to some degree.
I completely agree. You just have to have the basic understanding. Otherwise, you're gonna get ripped off. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're gonna get ripped off. Like nobody gives a shit, right? I mean, like freelance developers, like they're good and all. They're cheap
Hmm.
for a reason. They do the exact requirements that you provide to them. But if you don't even know how to provide them the requirements, then like you have to put it in a technical standpoint. If
Yeah.
you don't know how to provide requirements from a technical side, they're gonna be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I
They're
feel
not gonna be able to do the job.
this business model is really challenging because since you're the middleman, you have to market both to buyers and
Exactly.
sellers. So how do you really approach that? Do you just use all TikTok to get buyers and sellers? What's your strategy here?
Yeah. So amazing question. So we've started to run into the Airbnb problem. So when Airbnb was first created, they had the demand. They knew they had the demand. The buyers were like a hotel room for a fraction of the cost. Count me in. Like, or my entire place to myself for a fraction of the cost. Cool. I love that idea. problem was getting people to put their houses up on the market, right? It was a market. It's a
Mm-hmm.
marketplace. Airbnb is a marketplace. Getting people to put their houses up when there's some random ass people like gonna come live in there. Like that's something that you can't easily convince people to do. There's a learning curve. How do you properly clean the place, register the place, etc. So similarly, we have a much smaller learning curve, but to post a job, it takes 5 minutes out of your day. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. It's a learning curve at the end of the day, and you have to minimize the learning curve in order for more people to come onto your platform. So same thing for us. The buyers are there. I can bring in buyers like it's nothing, because number one, my demographic on TikTok is pretty much all buyers, in a sense, students. They're students. Um, 90 to 95% of them at least. And so a quick TikTok video of, hey, look at the services we provide would bring in plenty. Problem is, if the services aren't listed in the first place, they're going to come onto the website and say, there's what the hell, there's nothing here. And so that's the issue that we've run into. And we're working on bringing more sellers to the platform. And to do that, I try TikTok. Doesn't necessarily work, right? 95% are more buyer oriented. And so if they don't engage, TikTok doesn't blow up, and there goes that video. But what we're doing now is we're going to the entry-level classes. So entry-level classes, they have students, and we go to the professor and we say, hey, we have a platform. We think it will benefit your students in your class. I was wondering if you could just provide us the TA's contact information. Whoever's TAing for you guys, if you had previous TAs, hit us up with those contact details. Hell, you know what? Maybe 5%, 10% respond, but that's a starting point. And then from that professor, you say, hey, do you have any recommendations for another professor that can provide me those details as well? And it's all about building a network. Once you have built a big enough network, it's going to spread through word of mouth. So one TA is going to tell another TA, is going to tell another tutor that mentored in the past, and bam, you got your seller side. I bring the buyer side. You got yourself a marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about maybe running ads, Facebook ads towards professors so that if they have TAs, they can kind of help them? Because, a TA in this position, it can be really good for them because, first of all, you get experience. And number two, if they weren't TAing already because of COVID, maybe they had the opportunity to do so. So it can really help them out if they enter your platform.
Plus, they make money, so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
always a big incentive. Money is a very big incentive. So in terms of Facebook ads, I stay away from Facebook ads, right?
Okay.
The return on investments by ROI is by 2 to 5% of the clicks. Like it's very small. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely small. It's for the amount of money you put in, what you get out in terms of clicks is a very saturated market, especially with COVID-19. Like there's a lot of advertisements. Everyone's starting their own business. Everyone's trying to do something because they're sit at home, they're bored. And it's very saturated. And I try to stay away from advertising altogether. Even on my platform, you will not see any ads. And I think we're going down that route as a society because we don't like ads. I just don't like ads. I don't look at them. I don't pay attention to them. I have ad blocker on at pretty much all times. If I go to a website that tells me to turn off my ad blocker, I'd rather just leave the website than turn it off. And that's what I think a lot of people are going down that same mindset. And so I don't really see ads as working. So I stick to my TikTok. I can pretty much advertise in a sense on my TikTok. Plug my own platform every once in a while, but and my users don't mind, and my followers don't mind, as long as I intersperse it with real content, real educational content that helps them at the end of the day. I provide some value, and then they provide some value back to me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're operating as a CEO and CMO, and you say you don't really pay attention to Facebook ads or ads in general. Where do you see as the new marketing trends in terms of advertising? Because advertising is huge. Whenever there's new platforms such as TikTok, for a fact TikTok is gonna monetize that eventually. I mean, they have been already, but where do you see going in the next 3-6 months or maybe next year? The new advertising trends.
I mean, the new advertising trend is going to be based around a personal brand. I can almost guarantee it. It's going to be your personal brand that dominates the advertising industry. By personal brand, I mean people like David Dobrik are going to be able to build a business and blow it up within like a day. I know he's building an app or something. Maybe you've heard about that. That he's going to be able to destroy the competition just because of his personal brand that he built through content creation. So I really see the advertising becoming pretty much all influencer marketing, using big names like Dixie D'Amelio or Charlie. I know they have sponsorships with Duncan and all that. You see a lot more sponsorships. David Dobrik, imagine landing a sponsorship with David Dobrik. Your business would go from 0 to 100 in no time because that's the market he has. That's the power he has. He's huge. And his followers love him. They love him and they trust him. So if he says to do something, they're going to go do it probably. And that's a much higher ROI, like clicks per, like we could talk in clicks. That's a much higher click ratio than the Facebook, marketplace marketing that I was talking about. Facebook probably gets 2 to 5% clicks. Like when David Dobrik makes a video, he probably gets like 20 to 30% clicks. Maybe less. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't really know, but you get the point.
No, for sure. And what about your personal strategy? Because I know you focus a lot on TikTok, and people say, you know what, it's important to, if you grow on one platform, focus 80% on what's hot. But of course, it's important to go to, expand yourself horizontally, grow your Instagram as well, grow your LinkedIn, right? But are you focusing entirely on TikTok, or do you kind of have other horizontals that you want to grow?
Yeah, I'm focusing entirely on TikTok.
Okay.
Literally and all my attention when I have the time. I don't have much time, but when I do have the time, it's all on TikTok. I don't plug I have my YouTube and stuff linked there. There's 0 videos on it. I have my Instagram link. There's 0 pictures on it. So you get the point. I don't really plug anything else, but my TikTok's the main thing. Why? Because of the virality of TikTok. It's huge. You can go from 0 to 300,000 followers in like 20 minutes. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. You probably saw like that number 7 video. This man's is like, just because of his good vibes, he's at like 1 million plus probably right now. I think last time I checked, he was all like up on the upper 700,000s or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Wait, you haven't thought about, just reposting I've seen a lot of TikTokers, they literally repost their TikToks onto Instagram Reels and they get a lot of engagement.
Yeah, I need to start doing that, but the way I've looked at it is that, Reels is a more young adult type of platform now. It's going to become the next Facebook is how I'm thinking about it. It's going to become the next, like, hey, my parents use this. Why am I using this? And like, it sounds a little sad to say, but in like 10, 20 years, we'll be the ones on like Instagram as parents, like posting about our kids and stuff. It's going to be sad, but TikTok is the new thing. It is. And the problem is that TikTok is getting really, really saturated. Very saturated because everyone's on it now. Everyone's posting videos. That's a lot of content put out every single day. And so to be able to remain relevant on TikTok, you better put at least 1 video a day, 2 videos a day. And that's what I've seen. The biggest people, Gary Vee's strategies, this man's putting out like 3 to 5 videos a day. He's slapping content in their face left and right. And the way he's thinking about it is like, hey, if the algorithm puts at least 1 video on your For You page, nobody really goes to following, let's admit it. If they put at least 1 video on your For You page, hey, that's a potential extra follower that I can get. And that's how he's growing so quickly. That's what I think, at least. So I obviously don't have the time. So if you look at my TikTok feed, it's like 1 week apart, like videos. So it's really bad. But I try to focus on quality. And I know a lot of people, they tell me, hey, you should focus on quantity. But I don't really believe that. I mean, quantity would probably help me blow up faster. I was actually one of the first big educational influencers on the platform. It was one big series. It was like part 1 of the shit school doesn't teach you. Part 2 of the shit school doesn't teach you. Every video was getting in the millions. Every single video, like back-to-back series. After that, I was taking breaks, and it all went downhill. But in terms of the view counts, because it got more saturated after that point. But I was one of the first big ones. And on Instagram, it's already becoming more and more saturated. It's targeted more towards young adults, which my educational videos don't necessarily do. So in terms of finance, and in terms of investing, in terms of real estate, those might be arenas where Instagram might be a better bet. But in terms of, applying to college, most of the people on Instagram are probably already in college. Meanwhile, TikTok is a heavily dominated by high schoolers. That's what I'd say
True.
it was.
Yeah. So, as a CEO, CMO, how do you allocate your time in your day? So you also work a full-time job, right?
I had an internship with Lockheed Martin.
Okay.
So I'm currently in college right now. So I've already accepted full time with them. But at the moment, I'm only a student
Okay.
and with the 2 degrees. But uh, in terms of my day, I'd say I'm practically nocturnal. So like I go to sleep at like straight up 4 a.m. 4 a.m. I go to sleep. I wake up at around 1 p.m. So I get my sleep. I'm a big believer in sleep. You get your sleep, you feel well rested. And then I go to my classes. I finish up my classes around 3 to 4. I have a couple group meetings, and then I go into my business meetings from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, depending on how long it is. And then from 6 to 7, I eat, do my other stuff. And then after another hour, I go to the gym. And then I come back, and as I said, a lot of my developers are overseas. So um, I have to touch base with them because now it's morning over there, night over here. That's why part of the reason I stay up so late, because I got to, look at what they've done, give them new requirements, tasks, modify stuff, all that, etc. And then, throughout the day where I can, I try to touch base with my friends, professors, teachers, whatever else I need to do, a little bit of homework here and there. I've really not been focusing on too much school, unfortunately. I've been skipping a lot of class, so I need to get on that. But at the end of the day, I'm more heavily invested in my business,
Mm,
so a large portion of my time goes towards that.
I feel you. Let's try to provide some value in terms of college and picking majors because you're a double major yourself. You study mechanical engineering and yeah, you have a business degree, right? Now, a lot of people have a problem where they don't know what to do, even when they're in college. Maybe they're done with their freshman year, and they still don't know what to do. In your case, how did you find your major? Because once you pick it, once you do the 4 years of it, it's really hard to go back unless you had to do it all over again and pay a lot more on tuition.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's pretty important to know sort of what you're getting into. I'm not gonna say that it's necessary because I think I saw a statistic on this, like 80% of all students switch their majors at least once. And so that's a pretty big number, right? So you shouldn't feel inclined that you have to just know exactly what you want, have to know, exactly what career you want to go into. But if you don't go to a 4 year university. If you have zero idea and you have absolutely no fucking clue what you want to do, you should probably like stick to going to a community college, get your gen eds out of the way, because gen eds aren't going to apply to everything. It doesn't matter whether you're a engineer or a like a science like a biology major. The gen eds are going to do the same. So you can
Hmm.
get your gen eds out of the way. You can start to get a feel for the college experience, and try a couple of different gen ed areas. Take maybe intro to biology and then intro to physics. Which one are you better at? Which one are you good at? And then based on that, go down that career route, and it'll save you a ton of time at the end of the day. Um, I'm a big pusher for 4 year, not 4 year, community colleges. I love community colleges. I wish I went to a community college. I went to
Yeah,
4 year, and
same.
I realized my mistake at the end of the day. And I was like, if I can like 20, 30,000 dollars for like these stupid ass classes that I could have taken at a community college, transferred in for like 5,000, already known what I want, gotten scholarships, and probably walked out of there with zero to no debt. Instead, I go into the 4 year university paying $30,000 a year. I mean, I got scholarships and stuff, but still, it's around the housing. Housing is never covered through scholarships usually. Paying that much for housing. So 2 years, if you're not in a financially good standpoint, you have to be financially knowledgeable. Like understand that, hey, maybe this is not the financially best decision I can make. Just go to the 2 year, 2 year university, the community college, and then transfer. It's not that
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, I was on the same exact boat. And to be honest with you, man, it was all about ego at the end of the day. I was like, you know what? I cannot be seen going into community college, and it's very dumb because looking back, you do save a lot of money on these gen ed courses if you were to go there for 2 years, right? And it's very like, of course, a lot of people go through this, I think, but if you just set your ego aside and be like, yo, if you think about your 4 or 5 year terms, 10-year terms, you're gonna know that for a fact that you're gonna be saving money. And at the end of the day, it's not bad. Community college. At the end of the day, education is education. And what I realized really is, no matter what, if you go to a private university, community college, in my experience at least, the only difference was the material is the same. Of course, the professors might be more knowledgeable, but the material is the same. And the only difference is that if you go to a private university, they might have research opportunities that you can do that community colleges don't offer, right? And of course, it look good on your resume, but that's really about it, I think.
Yeah, I would argue that the professors are actually better at a community college. They actually care about you. You go to a big university, you're a number there. Like I go to a big university, 40, 50,000 students. How many times do I talk to my professor one-on-one? Not very many times. They have 200 students. They have 250 students. You're lucky if they remember your name. Um, I've also taken classes at community college. In high school, I've also taken some during the summer and transferred them into my 4 year university. Very different experience. They usually know me by name. They follow up with me. They're very quick to their emails. That's just my personal experience. You might have something different, but that's just what I've seen at least.
Oh yeah, and these classes, they can actually, it really does depend, because if you take more specific classes like the electives and whatnot, at least in my case, I had 20, 30 students.
Yeah,
So
smaller
it's
classes.
more, yeah, you can be more, you can stand out more for your professor, right? But again, if you go to a huge private university, it can be a totally different story, especially if you take general classes, right? You have hundreds and hundreds of students. So, what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see college students or high school students now in terms of going into college, the process of going into college? What's one mistake that you really see that they should really fix up? For example, is it, picking a major or writing their college essay? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake college students make, I think I want to really go back to that point. I want to hammer it home. Like, hey, if you don't know what you want to do, go to a community college and then transfer it in. And another big mistake I see people making is that they don't think long term. So, for example, long term and do the proper research. So, for an example, I mean, I was in high school. I took about 19 AP classes, took 21 tests. I went to the university, and they were like, "I'll give you 30 credits max." I'm like,
Hmm.
"What? Like this is like 90 credits worth of like material pretty much." And so I did. I was like, this is a bullshit. Like, what the hell? And so instead, I really started pushing dual enrollment now. So one of the big mistakes I don't see high schoolers doing is utilizing dual enrollment. It's a great opportunity to get your foot in the college experience. And the college experience is a little different. It's not the same as high school. It's a little different. You have very little structure, and I've seen that without structure, a lot of students go down a route where they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're flunking their classes because nobody's breathing down their neck. It's not like you have to go to class. You don't. If you don't want to go to class, you don't really have to. You lose a couple points, but hey, what are they going to do? Come knocking at your door? Without that sort of structure, I see people failing. And so it's pretty important to get that college experience before getting into college, whether you even want to go to college. Like, it's a very good experience that you should get. There's the options. I also hate that schools only push the college experience. The trade school is a very good industry. It's a very good field to get into. You get paid a lot of money. The demand is very high and the supply is low. So they're going to pay you a lot of money that is sometimes equivalent to what you will walk out of with an undergrad degree minus the debt. So it's a win-win. And so that's a big mistake. Some people don't know if they even want to go to college, what they want to go to college for, without even having experienced college or knowing their alternatives. So I definitely suggest doing your research. The research is super important. Educate yourself on the options out there, the different methods to get there, and what's financially best for you and for your own interest as well. What's best for your own interest.
Yeah, you really nailed it there. And I spoke with another entrepreneur, Mike Metzger, and he said, yeah, you have to realize that college isn't the only option. You need to make sure that before you go to college, know your options. And there's three options that he said. Either you go to a trade school, either you go to college, or you take the entrepreneurial route. There's not one option, because if you force one option on someone, and they can become very anxious. But if you give someone, a couple of options, then they can feel more relaxed. And, if you're just forced to do something, you're not going to really do it at that time. So if you give someone another hand, another card to play, then they can do better off in that route if they do decide to take that route. But yeah, of course, knowing your financials as well before going into college is important. I think a lot of people, especially me, when I thought like, hey, I'm going to get paid X amount of money once I graduate, because I'm expecting to make at least 60K once I graduate, but
Yeah.
that's not the case at all.
Big surprise there, right?
Yeah, that's not the case at all. And 4 years they go by really fast. And once you graduate and you expect to make X amount of money, that's not going to happen. And of course, the gross income, state income tax, I was so naive about that stuff until I got my first paycheck. Oh damn. It becomes
Government
real.
takes a cut. They're like, oh, give me that money, bro.
That becomes real. So, and it was really cool nowadays, especially on TikTok, is there's a huge community on personal finances and money, and people are being really educated. And of course, influencers like you are really pushing it. And I think because of you and other entrepreneurs around personal finances, that Gen Z is really learning more and being more, I guess, open to personal finances, which can be a touchy subject, but an all important one.
I appreciate it. No, it's definitely important. Teach our young generation what school hasn't taught them. And that's why that big series that really boosted me off was the part blank of the shit school didn't teach you. That was literally my series name. I think I did like 10 videos in that series, and each one was eaten up by the younger generation. They loved it. I engaged with it. They were eating it up left and right. And so it just really shows the need for it out there.
Yeah.
That they really want this stuff, and the school is just not providing it. So the school is not, not everything you learn is going to come through school. It can be as simple as TikTok. Following somebody on TikTok could give you more information than what you would have learned in school.
I know you mentioned previously that on TikTok you have to post at least once or twice a day to grow. But when you were growing, you said you grew to 100K in a couple months. What was your strategy? Did you know something about how to approach the camera, how to have pop-ups at a certain time? The first 3 seconds are very important. Did you have strategies to go viral?
Not really. So when I first started out, it was not as saturated, and so I tried a couple different things. So I would try a bunch of different videos. I would try a couple different series. I'm always starting series because series are one of the best ways to like gain an audience and keep them. So if one video in the series blows up, chances are the rest of them are also going to blow up because they like that series. They come back again. They're like, oh, tag me in part 2 or tag me in part 3. That's why you'll see everyone, like a lot of people doing series. And so I experimented with a couple different ones. And then this was actually the first series I started. So I got lucky in that it blew up. And after I saw those millions of views, I'm like, hey, this is working. So I when I say like you should just stick to what's working, you really should. If it's working, you don't have to change it. Try, like, squeeze that as long as you can, So I continued making videos on that. And what I really think has made me stand out was that I told them what they were going to learn in the first 3 seconds. So I said, here's part 3 on the shit school doesn't teach you, semicolon, how to make your resume. So they knew that, hey, this video teaches me how to make my resume. You know what? I sort of need help with this. I'm going to stay for it. If they don't want to stay for it, they leave. I don't care. It's how you capture their attention. So if you tell somebody what is in the video, they're going to stay for the entire video instead of just watching half of it and then just leaving because they don't even know if you got to the point yet. And that's, I think, especially in an educational standpoint, you can watch half of a dance and leave. That doesn't really matter, right? But if they absorb half of your content from education and then leave, you're doing something wrong. So setting the clear expectation from the beginning, this is what you're going to learn, really helps them stay through the entire thing instead of just leaving halfway through. And watch time is a very, very important factor in TikTok. That's what I found. Watch time. So that's why shorter videos tend to perform better, because more people watch through the entire video. And so I obviously have longer videos. They're educational, so I can't fit everything into the 20, 30 seconds that a lot of other people do. But that's one of the good ways to keep them engaged throughout the entire
Yeah.
50, 40 to 50 seconds that my videos are.
I guess two things that really resonated with me there was creating a series, because like you said, once one video goes viral, you can really squeeze that lemon and get as much juice as you want, right? And plus, if you do a series, it'll be easier to create content from that, right? You don't have to create something entirely different. And two is the first 3 seconds, just telling the audience what you're going to do exactly, where you're going to inform them of, and then the rest can be the content that's put on that. So the first 3 seconds, you can't just give them a hint. You got to tell them directly, this is what you're going to learn. That way they're engaged the first 3 seconds and they'll watch your full video. So you said that you don't try to aim for 30 seconds, what, 16, 17 seconds at most? Is there a formula here?
I mean, there's no real formula. The TikTok algorithm is quite complicated. It's super cool, actually, but I've seen that around 15 to 25 seconds performs the best. Too short, and they're not really getting anything out of it. Too long, and the watch time goes down. Unless you find some other way to keep them very engaged throughout the entire thing. So there's no secret formula. So don't go out and just be like, oh, he said 20 seconds is the best time. No, it's an experiment, right? And your followers might come to expect a certain type of content from you. My followers don't really like the shorter content because they're not getting value out of it. So anything below 30 seconds, I actually see it underperforms for me. Because they're not getting enough value out of it. They don't like it and they don't come back to it. And I use likes as a way to come back to stuff. I don't know if other people do that, but when I like something, it shows up in my like feed, and then sometimes I'll revisit my like feed. And I think a lot of other people do that. So they will like your video if they plan on coming back to it, or leaving the comments, stuff like that. And so it really depends on your followers and your audience. So really knowing who's following you is a big, big factor, even down to the time. When are your followers most engaged with your content? You shouldn't be posting at 3 p.m. if most of your following is in school at around that time. And you have to also think about, East Coast versus West Coast. West Coast is 3 hours behind you. So if you post at 3 p.m. on the West Coast, they're going to be at school, for example, at 12 o'clock. And so just knowing that and just keeping that in mind can help you think of what times are best to post, how often you should post, how long your post should even be.
Yeah, for sure. Now, going back to Edullo, even your personal brand, what do you see? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a North Star, or do you take it, quarter by quarter, day by day? What are your true ambitions here?
Yeah, so Edullo, right now we're working on getting the marketplace rolling. So once that marketplace is rolling, it's like a snowball effect. When the demand comes, the suppliers are going to come because there's money to be made. And anytime there's money to be made, people are going to join. And even vice versa, if it's the other way around, if the suppliers come, the demand is going to come because the students are recognizing, hey, there's so many services available. This is great. They're going to revisit the website over and over again to check in. So either way, once we make that marketplace, once we get the snowball rolling, it's just going to be a compound effect. It's going to get bigger and bigger. Eventually, we do want to open up to investments. So we're not at that point yet, but when we do, we're going to open up to investments. Hopefully, go public, and then eventually, I want to go working full time in it. So that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Long time, really. I don't know, that'd be super cool. Screw the 9 to 5. I'm gonna say bye and then go work there.
And I think it's on your link tree. You have internship opportunities, right?
Yeah, I do. So I like giving back to high schoolers. I was in that position once, so I try to give back where I can.
So in this internship opportunity, they can work with you at Edullo.
Exactly. So they'll work under me, and in the internship, uh, I go hold weekly seminars and stuff like that. So it's not all about just doing work. When you are at an internship, a lot of it is about learning. So being able to, attend these weekly seminars, give something of value to you, and you obviously give value to us as a high
Hmm.
schooler that's doing work for us. So it should be a mutual relationship
Yeah.
in both aspects.
And is your strategy here? I mean, it's not always good to rush things. Maybe I might be wrong here, but in this case, who knows how long this situation in COVID is going to be with schools and whatnot. And because right now there's a huge demand for students, they're not, since everything's through Zoom, maybe they can't learn as efficiently as in the classroom, right? And so they need that extra help. They need that service from the students by students, right? Now, is this a speed game where you guys have to make this marketplace as soon as possible to feed that demand or supply that demand?
It is a speed game. So you nailed it right on the head. It's a speed game because as soon as COVID is gone, you have in-person help, you have in-person tutoring, you have
Mm-hmm.
TAs you could go to, you have this and that, office hours you can go to. That cuts a share out of our market. Right now, if we get the users on the platform and get them used to using the platform, they're more likely to come back to it, even if COVID is not around. But if we're not
Mm-hmm.
able to capture that market now, we've lost it. I don't think it's going to be very difficult. It's not that we've lost it. The customer acquisition price is going to go up. So instead
Mm-hmm.
of just running, let's say, an ad or something to capture them, you're going to have to retarget them 2 or 3 or 4 times to make sure they know about Edulllo, bring them onto the platform, get them signed up, get them used to learning the platform, and so on.
For sure. And I think, it's going to be a new norm. COVID is going to stick around for a bit, at least not the actual, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's going to stick around for a bit, for at least another 2 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new norm. Of course, it's a speed game, but eventually I think it's a great opportunity for Edulllo to enter this marketplace and provide these services. So,
Thank
Eric,
you.
if people want to find you, check out Edulllo, where can they find it? Where can they check your TikTok out, Instagram?
Yeah. So Edullo is just edullo.com. That's the business. And if everything else, I also have that linked on my personal website. So ericbpatel.com, ERICB Patel, PATEL.com. That has that link tree that you were talking about has links to pretty much everything, my TikTok guides, my Instagrams, my socials, LinkedIn, if you want to follow me on there, and so on. So that's probably your best bet if you want to just go to that one website to access everything I have.
Sounds good. So I'll put all those links in the show notes. So if anyone's listening and they're interested, they can hit you up, DM you, or check Edulllo out.
Of course.
All right, Eric.
Thank you.
It was
Appreciate
a
that.
pleasure,
Yeah,
bro.
people should feel. Yep. Thank you, bro.
Wait, don't leave it. Don't leave it. I'm just gonna
Appreciate it.